It would be an understatement to say that Blizzard is having something of a rough week right after the announcement of their near-universally abhorred Diablo Immortal. How they thought building up to a new Diablo announcement before unveiling a mobile game at BlizzCon of all places would mull over well, how they didn't expect this kind of swift backlash, is still something of a mystery. There was bound to be at least one person who was so frustrated that he would be daring enough to take the microphone during the game's Q&A panel and ask if this is all some kind of off-season April Fool's joke. Blizzard also added fuel to the fire by issuing one of the worst possible responses to the situation in front of a booing crowd.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
I suppose this is how much a game company can be blindsided when they're more concerned about goading investors rather than appealing to the crowd, the hardcore fans who attended their marquee event. Now, it isn't just Diablo fans and the gaming community at large who are baffled at Blizzard's audacity to make a mobile game the centerpiece of their BlizzCon presentation. One games industry pundit who has shared his thoughts on the whole situation is none other than Mark Kern, producer of Diablo 2. He also worked on the Warcraft series for some time, helping develop Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, as well as being the team lead for World of Warcraft before departing Blizzard in 2006 to establish his own studio. Suffice to say that the man knows a thing or two about what Blizzard used to be like before Activision acquired it, and he shared his 2 cents via a Twitter thread, which reads as follows. Blizzard gamers are not smugly entitled, nor are they toxic, and they most certainly are not mad about a mobile version of Diablo because they hates the women's, the craziest blue check theory I've seen so far. So for those who don't know, there are a number of games journalists and industry pundits out there who have been bashing anyone who had the audacity to be upset at Blizzard over their recent announcement, somehow turning the general disdain against the company's handling of BlizzCon and the Diablo IP into an issue of entitlement, toxicity, or gender. I may talk more about this in a future video, as some of the aggressive feedback against dissenting gamers has been pretty ridiculous and nonsensical. All I'll say for now is that I couldn't agree more with Mark Kern here. The ire Blizzard instigated isn't the fault of gamers, but rather this is a grave that the company dug for themselves. Being upset at how tone-deaf Blizzard was for BlizzCon 2018 isn't a matter of entitlement on gamers' part, it's called being both a paying customer and a fan who has every right to speak out when they're not satisfied with how a company is choosing to handle a pivotal IP during a fan event. Anyway, Mark Kern continued, since I was producer on Diablo 2, a lot of people have been asking for my thoughts on the whole Diablo Immortal fiasco. I hate to say it, but what you're seeing is Blizzard not understanding gamers anymore. There is nothing wrong with having a mobile version of Diablo. In fact, I would have wanted one as an option. But the way it was hinted at and presented, and the failure of Blizzard management to predict the backlash caught me by surprise. Blizzard used to be really gamer-driven. Blizzard coyly played up the Diablo hype, which is a good move, but failed to anticipate that their PC-based audience was going to expect, well, a PC-based announcement. And following all that hype up with a different product is a huge bait-and-switch feeling moment. Blizzard has said now that they're working on multiple Diablo projects. They really should have dropped a teaser for their PC-based project alongside their mobile announcement if that's the case. Yep, pretty much what I've been saying in my discussions on this issue. It isn't a matter of screw Blizzard for making a Diablo mobile game, it's more of a how far out of touch must Blizzard be, or how little must they think of their biggest fans to think it would be okay to build up anticipation for your hardcore PC gamer audience, only to present a freaking mobile game. Blizzard didn't even need to announce Diablo 4 this year. People knew there was a good chance that the highly anticipated sequel won't be announced at BlizzCon 2018. Instead, following up the Diablo Immortal announcement with something like a Diablo 2 remaster, or anything like that to help PC gamers pass the time until a full-fledged next entry is announced, would have drastically mitigated backlash. Bethesda got away with announcing Elder Scrolls Blades because they did eventually follow that up with other showcases for their intended audience, like an extensive Fallout 76 presentation, as well as teasers for upcoming next-gen titles like Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. Same thing with Fallout Shelter. They announced that game and then moved on to giving the intended audience what they had been waiting for, Fallout 4. Microsoft also got away with showing off that weird Gears of War mobile game, Gears Pop, because they followed that up with presenting a proper, full-fledged Gears of War sequel. All Blizzard had to do was follow in similar footsteps and make one last major Diablo announcement after Diablo Immortal to appease their intended audience, whether it be a Diablo remaster or even something as simple as a vague short teaser trailer with a Diablo 4 logo, akin to what Bethesda pulled with Elder Scrolls 6. Now, if this was a matter of Blizzard simply not being ready to announce their other Diablo projects, fine, but then hold off on the Diablo mobile announcement for a less pivotal event than BlizzCon, or until you're ready to follow it up with something more exciting for the true fans. I won't claim to be a PR expert, but it should be common sense to surmise that you can't close a presentation that's primarily tailored to PC gamers with an overly hyped mobile game showcase and expect them to not feel like they were slapped in the face. Moving on, Mark extrapolated further on how he believes Blizzard seems to have lost their way, stating the following. But what is really telling is that this surprised them. They were expecting backlash, but they didn't have a plan for it. They didn't predict the wave. Any Diablo gamer would have simply told you what would happen if you asked. Blizzard never used to have to ask because it was made up of hardcore gamers from top to bottom. We used to say we were our own harshest audience for our games. I would have had a line of developers outside my door telling me this would be a bad move. The fact that Blizzard was A, unprepared for this reaction, and B, had no plans to mitigate it, even knowing some of it was coming, is a great disappointment to me. It's max of, yeah, well, suck it down. This isn't a toxic gamer issue, it's not an entitlement issue. It's just bad PR handling and a bad culture on the part of Blizzard, I'm sad to say. It's a culture that says we know better and fits right in with,
You think you do, but you don't.
Maybe you don't know better anymore, Blizzard. Maybe you've lost touch with gamers and you're now in some billion-dollar-a-year ivory tower. That needs some reflection on your part, because that's how big businesses fail. Remember Nokia? Remember Blockbuster Video? Today's devs need to talk to gamers all the time. Game dev has gotten so big, it's easy to lose touch. Many devs stop playing games as they start making them professionally. You need to make an effort to connect and tear down the corporate wall and get to know your audience. And I like how Blizzard isn't blaming their customers yet, but say they are passionate. That's pretty good so far, but an apology and a PC reveal would be better. They're busy with BlizzCon wind-down, but I hope to see a better response after all of this. As for mainstream game journalists, they are blaming gamers, and so are a lot of know-nothing devs in mobile and indie. To them, I say be prepared to lose a lot of customers and money, because it's never right to blame your customers for your own PR blunders and learn nothing. Couldn't have said it better myself if I tried, and there is definitely some interesting insight there coming from the producer of Diablo 2, one of the most iconic Blizzard titles to date. From his perspective, it would seem as though this is a very different Blizzard from the one he used to work in over a decade ago. One thing I'll say, however, is that Diablo Immortal is unlikely to contribute to Blizzard's financial downfall. I do think this whole fiasco is going to be a permanent stain on their image, but I can almost guarantee you that Diablo Immortal is going to make Activision Blizzard a boatload of money. Just to show you what I mean, despite mixed reactions from financial analysts in light of the unprecedented backlash against the game, with one of them noting how EA taught them that player sentiment does matter in a game's performance with how Star Wars Battlefront 2 sales disappointed. They still believe that Blizzard's new mobile game will yield overall lucrative results, predicting that we might see revenue margins of up to $300 million annually. I don't doubt that Activision Blizzard can achieve these numbers with the implementation of microtransactions, which we all know will happen. The fact that the company still hasn't addressed questions about Diablo Immortal's monetization speaks volumes, and I shouldn't have to remind you of the extensive history Activision has with greedy money-milking schemes in their games. It also doesn't help matters that Chinese company NetEase, with whom Blizzard is co-developing Diablo Immortal, apparently doesn't have a particularly good reputation when it comes to microtransactions in their mobile games. The unfortunate state of the gaming industry right now is that it's more profitable to lose touch with gamers, so greedier game companies will naturally gravitate towards that. EA is likely the most notorious and abhorred game publisher in the Western Hemisphere, having completely lost touch with gamers for many years now, but from a financial standpoint, they are doing better than ever. Unfortunately, I suspect that things will be no different for Activision Blizzard with the launch of Diablo Immortal. The reason companies like Nokia and Blockbuster failed had more to do with their inability to evolve with the times and their respective industries, resulting in their products and business models stagnating. Activision Blizzard faces no such issue. Their games have evolved and their franchises continue to have a mass appeal, all while their microtransactions business model continue to make the company more profitable than ever before. It's just a damn shame that the evolution that's taking place is one that's detrimental to the medium that game companies represent. Sure, games look prettier than ever now, technology has advanced quite a bit, but save for releases from a select few studios and publishers, many franchises these days feel soulless. Instead of furthering the craft, game features are being stripped and design integrity is being marred, all to prioritize the predatory exploitation of the medium, because game companies figured out that this is just a much easier way to make an unseemly amount of money. Companies like EA and Activision Blizzard have evolved alright, unlike Nokia or Blockbuster, but they have done so in all the wrong and most grotesque ways. It's becoming less about making great games, bringing joy to gamers, feeling pride in their products, and pushing creativity to new heights, and more about using games as a vehicle purely for financial growth, and Activision Blizzard is one of the most efficient entities on that front. Don't get me wrong, I wish I could be confident in saying that game companies will crumble if they lose touch with gamers, but many of them have already lost touch with gamers a long time ago, and they are flourishing and doing just fine because they know how to exploit the industry and the market. It's an unfortunate reality, but Mark Kern nailed it when he said that gamers resenting this trend isn't about toxicity, it's not about entitlement, and it's certainly not about gender issue. It's about anxiety over highly regarded game companies like Blizzard showing foreboding signs that they're gradually starting to lose touch with their own craft and fan base, that they're becoming tone deaf as corporate walls between the developers and gamers continue to mount. As gamers and paying customers, we certainly have every right to bluntly and loudly express our disapproval of that, especially with this being a creative medium, a creative space. Obviously, there's a way to do that without resorting to toxic behavior or attacking individual developers rather than putting the blame on the corporate higher-ups who are ultimately responsible for this shit. But the generalization that gamers who criticize game companies' decisions are acting entitled is also far from ideal and far from the truth. Mainstream game journalists can blow smoke up corporate asses all they want, but we as customers and fans know that it's not our duty to fall in line for game companies or take responsibility for their PR blunders and their baffling short-sightedness. It is our choice as consumers of products being sold and as the lifeblood of these businesses to provide feedback where it's needed, be it positive or negative, and the hope is that these game companies will actually listen, get in touch with gamers, and course correct before one too many blunders becomes the straw that breaks the camel's back. These are one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on Mark Kern's response in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.